Get Stephanie!
Dad screamed. Daddy, help me! I stretched my hand towards my dad, but the more I stretched, the further away my father looked. I was drenched with sweat and blood trickled down my face. I tried to stand, but I fell with a thud to the ground. My eyes shot open. My breathing was heavy as my heart raced. It was just a dream. It was just a dream. Hey, if you want to hear more about my story, stick around. I went from knowing where I came from to knowing nothing at all. Can you believe that?
I think it's time we go back home,
Mom said.
We don't need to make that decision just yet. We'll put her in danger if we leave now.
Dad responded.
We'll put her in danger if we stay.
I was heading to the bathroom, but my mom's words made me stop in my tracks. Where was home? I've lived in this neighborhood all my life. The following day, I cleared my throat and questioned them during breakfast. Mom, what did you mean when you said you think it's time I went home? Did we live somewhere before here? At school, my mind replayed what I heard the night before. I felt something hit me on the head. It was my best friend, Timmy. He waved his book at me. What?
You've been ignoring me most of the day, and the teachers.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about what my parents said.
Have your parents ever hidden anything from you?
I shook my head.
Then there's a reason they're doing it now, which is probably to protect you.
I guess. But Timmy's answer wasn't enough for me. I needed to know what Mom and Dad were hiding and why. Over the next few weeks, I kept a close eye on Mom and Dad. I even checked their laptops for anything useful, but I didn't find any incriminating evidence. Until Mom sent me into the basement to get some fertilizer for her garden one afternoon. I pulled the bag, but it caught on a part of the shelf and the bag tore. Some of the fertilizer spilled behind the shelf. I pulled the shelf away from the wall to scoop the fallen fertilizer back into the bag, and that's when I saw it. The door. How in the world did I miss this all these years? I held the knob in my hand and turned it. Could it really be that easy? I pushed the door open slowly. I expected booby traps, like arrows to fly across the wall, or flamethrowers to fly over my head, but nothing happened. I flicked on the light and stood there, amazed. There were many different types of gadgets and machinery on tables and walls. What caught my eye were two pieces of what looked like a broken stone slab under a round, clear glass. It had some weird markings and seemed to glow once tilted towards the light. I grabbed one piece quickly and went to my room. I pulled the piece from my pocket and ran my fingers over it. I knew Mom and Dad were hiding something. Timmy is gonna get a kick out of this. Timmy was the only 15-year-old that I knew that still watched sci-fi and believed aliens are among us. If anyone knew what this was, it'd be him. The next day, at school, I slipped the piece of broken slab into Timmy's hand. Do you think you could help me find out what this is? He studied it for a few seconds.
I've never seen anything like this before. I'll take it home, examine it, and I'll let you know what I find out tomorrow.
Later that evening, while I was doing my homework, someone knocked on the door. Come in! Mom and Dad entered, grave looks on their faces. What's wrong?
It's Timmy. He and his parents were kidnapped about an hour ago.
What? Why?
We don't know, honey, but the police are investigating.
Dad squeezed my hand. Then it clicked. Why would Timmy and his parents be kidnapped? What was the one thing that had occurred? The piece of technology that I gave Timmy. Mom, Dad, I think I know why they were kidnapped. I quickly explained to my parents what I found yesterday afternoon and how I gave Timmy a piece to study for me. Mom and Dad ran out of the room. I followed them as they ran into the basement and opened the hidden door. The piece of slab left behind under the glass case blinked steadily. Dad placed it in his pocket.
Stephanie, what you gave Timmy was a valuable piece of Russian technology. Your mom and I were double agents, and we changed our identities when we moved here to protect you. The nightmares you've been having actually happened. We barely escaped our last home before we found solitude here. You were about 3 years old at the time.
I wanted us to go back home, to the Mediterranean, because we wanted to stay away from this lifestyle. Timmy probably activated the tech and now all the pieces are activated. It won't be long before they find us. Or the others.
Others? I raised an eyebrow. A loud explosion from upstairs shook the house.
Find them!
A man shouted. Mom locked the door to the secret room while Dad grabbed a few weapons, then opened another door and looked me in the eye.
Stay close.
I swallowed hard and nodded. Mom and I followed Dad through the tomb to the shelter at the side of the house. We were almost to the car when Mom was violently yanked backwards. Mom! I watched as Dad quickly removed a knife from his boot and cut the rope that was around my mom's neck and helped her to her feet. 4 men surrounded us and we backed up against a tree. Dad moved me behind him and he and Mom looked at each other with a shared tension in their eyes before they sprang into action. Their moves were swift and flawless. Mom and Dad were soon joined by 2 other men I didn't know. As soon as all 4 enemies were knocked out, one of the men said,
Let's go.
My parents and I followed them to the black van parked on the road. It wasn't long before we sped onto the highway.
Still cutting it close, I see.
Dad chuckled.
And we're still saving your lives.
The man laughed heartily. Dad introduced them to me as John and Kern.
These are our comrades from the days as double agents.
Mom explained the situation with Timmy and the tech.
Have you guys heard from Ruby? She's the only one missing from the team.
John answered.
We went to her place first. There was blood everywhere, but 0 body. We collected her piece, then we came to you. We have to find out where they're holding Timmy and his parents.
Dad said.
Guys, we're being followed.
Mom looked at the car behind us.
Hold on, buttercups.
Kern said as he sped up. We all swayed as we swerved through the traffic. It wasn't long before Kern took a road off the highway that zigzagged around the mountain of the North Range.
They're gaining on us.
John shouted. The van was rammed from behind repeatedly until Kern lost control and the van flew off the road and rolled down the precipice. Once the car stopped, it was quiet for a while. My body ached. I felt someone shake me.
Steffi, we have to go.
I was quickly helped from the car. Dad held on to me as the group ran a few yards ahead.
Steffi, hold your breath, and no matter what you do, don't let go.
Dad said as we ran towards the cliff. Still groggy from the accident, I couldn't respond. My body jolted awake when I realized that Dad and I jumped into the icy ocean below. We swam to pockets of air hidden between the rocks under the water until we came to our destination. It was an underwater hideaway. We entered the pod and Kern pressed a few buttons and the water drained out. Once that was complete, he opened the other set of doors. The hideaway was just like the inside of a small cottage, with a few bedrooms, kitchen, and a surveillance area.
The pieces will be safe here for now. They can't be tracked here.
I bathed and changed and went to bed while the adults made calls to locate Timmy and his family. A few hours later, Dad woke me up.
Steffi, we just wanted you to know that Timmy and his parents are safe.
I hugged Dad. I'm so sorry.
If I had listened to your mom and told you everything, this could have been avoided. I'm so sorry you had to go through this.
When I stepped into the surveillance area once more, Dad and the others were unpacking underwater equipment.
Okay, team, let's gear up. We're meeting Lieutenant Hilgard in a few hours.
Lieutenant Hilgard? I asked Mom.
He's the person we reported to. We need to let him know about everything that happened and to get more information.
It wasn't long before we swam to the surface on the far side of the island and boarded a plane to a remote island which was heavily guarded by Army personnel. We were escorted into a building and into the elevator where we were taken below ground.
Good evening, agents.
Lieutenant Hilgard greeted us as soon as the elevator opened.
I've been expecting you.
We followed Lieutenant Hilgard to a private room where Dad handed over everyone's piece of tech. Lieutenant Hilgard called over one of the guards.
Take this to Lucinda. She'll know what to do with it.
He handed over the pieces to the guard. As soon as the guard left, Lieutenant Hilgard turned his attention to us. Suddenly, the door opened and heavily guarded men entered the room and placed handcuffs on all of us.
What is the meaning of this?
Kern yelled.
You aborted your mission and your post when your country needed you the most. That was an act of treason. You'll be executed in 3 days.
Mom! Dad! I screamed as we were being taken away.
Don't worry, Steffi. Everything will be okay.
Mom assured me. On the second night, the lights went out and my cell door opened.
Steffi, time to leave.
Mom's voice came from the entrance of my cell. I went towards her voice and she hugged me quickly before she placed night goggles on my head.
Stay close.
We entered the elevator and John opened the door at the top as we climbed into the elevator shaft where there was a ladder. As soon as we exited the shaft, we entered the floor where Lieutenant Hilgard and his guards were located, and the lights returned.
Well, it's about time, you guys.
A woman smiled at them as she held a pair of swords in her hands. Motionless bodies sprawled across the floor.
Ruby!
Mom smiled.
Hey, gang! There's a helicopter waiting up top for us. Let's keep it moving.
While we were in the elevator, Ruby explained how she escaped and gave them a replica of the tech.
I knew I needed to find a way to track you guys. So did you guys get the item?
Dad smiled.
You know we always get the job done.
Finally, we exited the building and ran towards the helicopter where we all scrambled in.
Hey, guys, I'd like you to meet my husband, Byron.
The pilot lifted his hand. About an hour later, we landed, but only Mom, Dad, and I came out from the helicopter.
We'll be right back.
Dad called out to the others. As we approached the house, a man exited the house.
Levi and Melanie, lovely to see you again.
The man turned to me.
And you must be Stephanie.
I nodded.
Did you get the item I requested?
The man looked at Dad. Dad removed a small chip from his pocket and handed it over. The man smiled.
Great. Now I think there's someone you'd like to see.
We entered the house, and there he was. Timmy! I screamed as I ran and hugged him. I'm so sorry I got you caught up in all of this.
Are you kidding me? Here I have access to the world's best tech. I see this as a blessing in disguise.
Dad called out to me.
Steffi, we have to go.
I hugged Timmy one more time before I left with my parents. Our lives never went back to the quiet life that I knew. My parents came out of retirement, and Kern, John, and Ruby became like family to me. All of our information was wiped from the internet, and we became ghosts. Timmy, his parents, and I began to train under my parents and their team. I not only learned academics, but weaponry training, amongst other things. I changed my life and the lives of those around me with just one decision. My decision worked out, but be mindful of the decisions you make, because you never know whose life you will change in the process. I can't believe this! Life is garbage. I'm going to break everything in here! I heard my mom screaming from the kitchen and figured she was having another one of her tantrums. She usually behaved like that when she was upset about the smallest things, but she didn't break anything. This time was different because I started hearing plates crashing on the walls. I ran downstairs. Mom, what's wrong? Calm down, for goodness sake. The publisher won't accept my novel. Something about it being too cliché and romantic. But Mom, you're already a best-selling novelist who has made so much money. We are so well off, and I can't understand why you don't just retire. Retire? Never! The fans want more, but I can't give them what they want anymore. At this point, she started crying, and I was about to roll my eyes and walk away when she said, "But hey, I do have an idea for a book that will definitely sell, but I need your help. I want to provide insight into the lives of rich guys, particularly those around your age. I just need you to go on dates with super rich guys, then report to me everything that happened. It's going to be my best book yet. Maybe it'll even become a documentary. Mom, I'll pay you a few $100 for each date. How does that sound?" I could have said no, and you could have stopped watching this video right here, but I agreed, and what happened next was totally out of this world. Make sure you stay with me until the end because it gets more and more insane. Fine, Mom. She wiped her tears, smiled, and began cleaning up the mess she'd made in the kitchen. I gave my mom some time to gather her thoughts, then I decided to ask her where exactly I was supposed to find these rich guys to date. Her first suggestion was the country club. Lots of billionaires go there with their families sometimes. Just dress up pretty and sit there until some guy approaches you, okay? Okay, Mom. After school the next day, I got home, showered, and put on one of my best dresses. She dropped me off at the country club and I walked inside trying to look like I belonged there. I found a seat at a restaurant and pretended to look through the menu. A whole hour passed, and while I could see several guys my age around, no one approached me. I called my mom and asked her to pick me up. It won't always work out the first time. Same place, same time tomorrow, okay? Okay, Mom. Do I get paid? No, you didn't go on a date. She was so annoying. The next day, I went back there and tried to put in some more effort. I made eye contact with this average-looking guy who was dressed like a total nerd. He instantly came over to me.
Hey, you're new here. I haven't seen you around before.
Yes, my name is Myra.
Wow, lovely name. I'm Garvey.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. We spoke for a while and exchanged numbers. When he was gone, I called my mom and she came to pick me up. That night, though, he couldn't stop sending me messages, and by the next day, he had already asked me out. This was all too easy, wasn't it? Our first date was that weekend. He decided to take me on his family yacht. I had an amazing time on the sea, although I found Garvey a bit boring. He didn't think the same about me, though. Apparently, I was the most interesting girl he had ever met. The week after, he invited me to his house for a dinner, and oh my gosh, it was huge. So huge and shiny. He introduced me to his family, then we all ate a 3-course meal served by different staff they employed there. After that, he invited me to his home theater to watch a movie. Then came the weird part.
Want to see my cool collection?
Okay.
It's in my room.
He led me up to his room, which was almost as big as my house. He showed me a shelf near a window. It was filled with little jars.
Isn't it awesome?
What is it?
Toe jam. It's fascinating.
What on earth do you mean?
You know, that stuff you find in your toenails when you clean them. I like to collect mine and store it in jars.
Garvey, that's not normal.
Hey, I'm just sharing my passions with the girl I love.
Girl, you... what? At that point, I made up some story about having a bellyache and needed to go home immediately. He got one of their drivers to take me home, and when I got there, I ran straight to my mom. Mom! He's crazy! I told her everything, and she couldn't contain her excitement. I knew it! Rich guys all have some strange, disgusting addiction. Here's $300. Are you going to continue seeing this guy? No, of course not. Fine. You need to start looking for the next one then. Maybe you can use online dating this time. I took my money happily and went to my room to download some apps. It took a few days, but I found a guy who looked like he had a lot of money. He had pictures in front of his parents' mansion, their beach house, their house in the forest, and loads of pictures at 5-star hotels in exotic locations. I swiped right and started talking to him. Lester was a bit more difficult than Garvey, but he eventually asked me out. He took me to a 5-star Italian restaurant and gave me some expensive jewelry as a gift. I actually thought he was pretty cute. We hung out almost every afternoon and eventually took me home to introduce me to his parents. Like Garvey, he lived in a huge house and his parents loved me. Don't they all? For a while, this guy actually seemed pretty normal until I was invited to his beach house with his family one weekend. He told me he had a special room there he wanted me to see. I thought it'd just be a romantic place for making out, but when he opened the door, I screamed. What is this?
They're my pets. Well, ordinary people get dogs and cats, but this is what I prefer.
The room was filled with rats in different cages, all of different sizes. But I'm terrified of rats. And I didn't give him much time to explain why his pets were in his beach house instead of his regular house, or why he was just so weird in the first place. I bolted out the door and ran for 10 minutes. I texted my location to my mom, who instantly came to my rescue. Rats! Yes, that's a good one. Here's $400. Good job, Myra. I was really starting to like that guy, you know. That's life. I thought I liked your father too. Anyway, my publisher, although I hate him now, is having this huge event at his house, and I know he has lots of rich friends. You can find the next guy there. It's tomorrow. I've already bought you a stunning dress. Okay, I honestly wanted to stop dating creeps, but I enjoyed the money. At the event, I met Corey. He was the son of a famous actor, and he seemed to be pretty into me.
Girl, you are mad cute. Want to get out of here and have some real fun?
Sure. I let my mom know I was leaving, and technically this was a date, so she'd have to pay me for it. We went to a club, and after that, we decided to walk a bit before calling an Uber or his driver to take us home. I got a bit tired, so I stopped to lean on a pole. He grabbed my hand and looked into my eyes. Just as I thought that he was about to lean in for a kiss, he started licking the pole behind me. Have you been drinking? Are you okay?
No, I have this thing. I don't know if it's a disorder, but I think it's a hobby. I like to lick things. I've never licked this pole before. Hey, your dress looks delicious too. Can I taste it?
At this point, I was starting to think that all guys were completely insane.